right, welcome everybody. We're here for special Metal Monday. We got a special guest, Brad Rudover, up from. Well, introduce yourself to everybody, Brad. So.
Hey, thank you for having me on here, Nick and Brett. It's always a pleasure hanging out with you guys. It's just fun. So Scrap University is what we're talking about. Just a little segment today, and so I really wanted to thank you guys for having me on, so we can let the world know what's happening with Scrap U.
So the only guy I know that has a company called Detroit Scrap who lives in Canada.
Yeah, that threw me off for a while.
Why don't you just call your company fucking Canada Scrap?
Dude, I'll tell you, Detroit's just such a dangerous city, and Canada is so safe, man. Like, we just leave our doors wide open here, and like no one even comes in.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, that's kind of how it is in Idaho still. But we'll see if that changes anytime soon. So let's get it. Nick, let's go into scrap this morning.
Yeah, we saw copper kind of cool off, last week. It was going crazy. It looked like we might get to $5 within this month, but it kind of cooled off, but a little bit of a run today on copper. And everything else is looking strong too. We're already almost a week from today. We're going to already be in November. So it's kind of time to start talking about the ferrous markets, where they're going to head. And Brad, what do you think? Where do you think ferrous is going to be here in a week?
I'm hearing up 20 on the ferrous.
You're light. It's light.
Well, hey man, I don't want to get people too excited like you do, Brett. You're like up 100, I'm just like.
Well, no. But you're light. Just so you know, I think it's going to be November is going to be a good month if you're in the ferrous business.
So minimum, we're hoping up 20.
And 40. Historically, like this time of year is when everything starts slowing down, and margins are widening. And it's funny is like I get Argus Media from Jennifer, right? And of course Nucor. I know Brett, you love Nucor. Record profits. It's like
And I'm just trying to keep the lights on over here. Shoot, I just trying to keep so I can keep my internet bill, fed, so I can at least post some scrap sales every once in a while on the intranet. So I don't even know. I don't even know how it is to make record profits, but I'm just hoping to get some of that action in November.
So hopefully we close the year off strong, November, December. I'm hoping just for a nice run. Just be
copper's
real nice.
What, 460, around 460 this morning. Nickel's up big, 9.25. Lead and zinc are running hard again. I know PGMs look pretty strong this morning. Aluminum kind of hit the skids last week, but it's at least showing some green this morning, maybe trying to level out. But in general, it feels like everything is fairly positive on the base metals side, PGM side going into November. So that's a good sign.
Now, why do you guys think that, the markets are doing what they're doing when we're in kind of like the middle, maybe tail end of this pandemic? Is this, the M word? Is this manipulation by investors, or is this actual demand?
I think it's supply demand. I think I think the reason the ferrous markets are going to see a big jump in November is the supply chain is still pretty screwed up. So you've got some pretty good demand coming from overseas, which is what's going to keep the domestic mills honest this month. That export market's heating up. Now, you know the export market as well as anybody, so I don't have to explain that to you. I know you don't spend as much time on the ferrous export side, but those markets are heating up. And that's the demand for new steel is still there. So that's gonna maybe tighten up the margin on the scrap, because there's a historical margin between scrap and new steel right now. So either something's gonna give, right? Either the price of new steel is gonna come down, or the price of scrap's gonna come up and tighten that margin. So I think it's a combination of a lot of factors. Your big ferrous yards are seeing a slowdown in supply, but the demand's still good on the back end. They're not getting the material that they, would anticipate with these kind of pricing. And so I think that it's kind of accumulation of factors on the ferrous side. And on the non-ferrous side, you're seeing the reports on like the Comex warehouse. And I mean, if the copper's not there and there's demand for it, I mean, at some point, something's going to give, right? And I think that's what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, and so like, yeah, I mean, I think that's a good explanation. Now, like, do you think that's probably due to like construction projects for the steel side of things, like where the demand is coming from?
On the ferrous side, on the steel side, I think there's still a lot of pent up demand for new steel. I mean, even for us, I mean, we ordered steel buildings for some of our storage unit projects. I mean, that we're supposed to be here in July and they're still not here, right? We're
Wow.
just getting them. I mean, and we're ordering more, and we can't. Our timelines are getting pushed out farther. So I think you're seeing that people are worried that they're not going to be able to get XYZ material, so they're even buying forward. So they're kind of even shoving that, demand, increasing their demand just because of their worries that they won't be able to get the material when they would like to see it for their projects.
That makes sense.
Well,
so
Brad,
real quick, Brad, the reason we have, and I'll go into it, but the reason we had Brad on here today is Brad's a good friend of ours. We do some business together. And B, Brad, I don't know, probably a couple years ago, started working on his project, Scrap University. And with that, I know it's a passion project of his, something he's very passionate about. And he had a pretty big announcement that he wanted to kind of talk about, and we want to give him this platform to do that because we respect what he's doing. He's got as much love for the industry as we do. And take it away, Brad. Let everybody know what you got cooking.
Yeah, thanks, Brett. Thanks, Nick. I'll call you Professor Snyder since Nick is actually in our program. And when you get to like the red metal section, you're going to see what Nick knows. And it's like we want to build this program with all of the people in the industry, right? It's like we actually just added a new professor. We have like a brand new professor. He just sent me some videos. Eric Zwilski from Potomac Metals on the East Coast. Super smart dude, been in the business like his whole life, kind of like you, Brett, and he's just like, this is awesome. What a great idea. Like, how can I be a part of it? So that's what we're trying to say here is that like, it's not me. It's about getting all of the talented people in our industry to then put their information into our online program so that then everyone in the entire scrap business will be an expert. Can you imagine having everyone in your yard as an expert? Like, how cool is that, right? So, for the past 2 years, we've worked on building it into our website, filming and editing and all this sort of stuff. And then we engaged the associations. We spoke with Kerry, which is the Canadian Association of Recycling Industries, and then ISRI. Everybody knows who ISRI is. And both of them were super receptive. They were like, wow, this is really needed. And again, we spoke about this at the start where traditionally people just don't want to share information for competitive reasons. Like they think like knowing the difference between number one and number two is like proprietary. And it's just like, no, like it's not, and so, but we're trying to make it so that like everyone from an administrator, like who's just pushing paperwork, they will now know the difference between 304 and 316 stainless. It's like, it's that needed, and we've seen a number of people register from all different roles in the company. And so,
which is pretty cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So what's the announcement? What's happening this week?
So actually it happened last week, and it was like so hard for me to like kind of keep it in, but like Isri's like, just relax, man. They had their board of directors meeting, as did Carrie. They had totally separate board of directors meetings. And in Charleston, South Carolina, Rebecca Turner is the director of education at Isri. She announced to the board that we now have a partnership, Scrap You and Isri, and Scrap You and Carrie. We're a partnership in terms of educating the industry. So then it just becomes a member benefit for if you're an Isri member or a Carrie member. And so we wanted to make it special. So both Isri and Carrie members get 25% discount on our program. So, people want to say like, oh, well, why would I become a Isri member? Well, you get a deal on Scrap You, so.
There you go, man. I like it. Well, that's awesome, man. I'm glad. I'm happy for you. I know you're passionate about this industry, so it's always good to see, those connections being made, and people buying into the program that you spent so much time putting together.
It's honestly a dream come true, because like this was literally just a concept that I was like kind of kicking around years ago, and one of my phone calls with Robin, she's the president of Isri, and she said, yeah, like this is a good idea. So when you hear from someone like, hey, a lot of our friends that helped us build this, they're like, great idea. When you hear from, someone that's running the biggest association in the world, you kind of go, okay, if she thinks it's a good idea, it must be a good idea. So we, like Brett, what you were saying earlier, execution, right? And so we just executed,
I love it, man.
It's a great
congratulations
program.
to you. It's a good program. Good program. Nick's involved. We're involved. Other super smart people in the recycling industry are involved. So if you get a chance, go check it out.
Yeah, and I did your course. It's awesome. It's really well built, really easy to utilize, and there's a lot of. I've been doing this for a long time, so I know most of that stuff. But someone that just started, I think there's a real need for that, to onboard some new employees, or even current ones in production, where you want to maybe teach them, hey, I need to move you over to this field or this field, like go through the aluminum course or go through the copper course. I think there's a real value there, and I think I can just see it. It's going to just grow. It's going to be amazing. So congratulations again, Brad. So,
hey, thank you.
Have a great week, everybody.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Sorry, have a great week. Take care.
See ya.
All right.
Bye.